Hello. Today we are going to look at how a car works. It might seem very complicated, like a big metal puzzle with lots of confusing bits. But really, it is quite simple when you break it down into smaller parts. The main idea behind a car is turning fuel, like petrol or diesel, into movement. This magical transformation happens inside a very important part of the car called the engine. The engine is like the heart of the car, pumping power to make everything else go. It is usually found at the front of the car, under the bonnet, and it is where all the excitement begins. Without the engine, a car is just a very heavy and rather useless metal box on wheels. So how does this engine create power? It all happens inside small tubes called cylinders. Most cars have 4, 6, or even 8 of these cylinders. Inside each cylinder is a piston, which is a metal plug that can move up and down. The process is a 4-step dance. First, a tiny bit of fuel and air is let into the cylinder. Second, the piston moves up and squeezes this mixture very tightly. This makes it ready to explode. It's a bit like shaking a bottle of fizzy pop before you open it. You are building up the pressure for a big event. This compression is a crucial step in the whole process of making power. The third step is the exciting bit, the bang. A small part called a spark plug creates a tiny spark, like a miniature bolt of lightning. This spark ignites the squeezed fuel and air mixture, causing a small, controlled explosion. This explosion forces the piston down with great power. This downward push is the real force that will eventually turn the wheels. The final step is getting rid of the used gases. The piston moves back up, pushing the burnt gases out through a pipe called the exhaust. This cycle of suck, squeeze, bang, and blow happens thousands of times every minute, creating a continuous flow of power. This constant up and down motion of the pistons needs to be turned into a spinning motion. This is the job of a clever piece of metal called the crankshaft. The pistons are connected to the crankshaft by connecting rods. As the pistons are pushed down by the explosions, they push on the crankshaft and make it spin around and around. Think of it like your legs when you are riding a bicycle. Your legs push down on the pedals, and this makes the part the pedals are attached to spin. The crankshaft does the same job, turning the straight line power of the pistons into useful rotational power for the rest of the car. Now that the engine is spinning and making power, we need a way to get that power to the wheels to make the car move. This job belongs to a group of parts called the drivetrain. The drivetrain is like a long chain that connects the engine at the front of the car to the wheels, which might be at the front or the back. It is a very important system because without it, the engine would just be spinning away, making a lot of noise but not actually going anywhere. The drivetrain's main purpose is to manage this power and deliver it smoothly and efficiently to the road, allowing you to control your speed. The first part of the drivetrain, right next to the engine, is the transmission, or what we often call the gearbox. The engine spins very fast, but the wheels need to turn at different speeds. The gearbox has a set of gears of different sizes that let the driver choose how much power and speed to send to the wheels. A low gear gives you a lot of power for starting or climbing a hill, but not much speed. A high gear gives you more speed for cruising on a motorway, but less pulling power. In an automatic car, the gearbox does all of this for you, which is quite clever. After the power leaves the gearbox, it travels down a long spinning rod called the drive shaft. The drive shaft runs along the length of the car, carrying the rotational power towards the wheels that will push the car. It's a simple but strong part, designed to spin very fast without wobbling or breaking. At the end of the drive shaft, the power reaches the differential. The differential is a special set of gears that does 2 things. First, it turns the direction of the power by 90 degrees to send it out towards the wheels. Second, it allows the wheels to spin at slightly different speeds when you go around a corner. From the differential, the power is finally sent to the wheels through 2 shorter rods called axles. Each driving wheel has its own axle that connects it to the differential and makes it spin. So to put it all together, the engine makes spinning power, the gearbox controls the speed of that spin, the drive shaft carries it to the back, The differential splits it and sends it to the axles, and the axles turn the wheels. It is a wonderful mechanical journey from a small explosion in a cylinder to the car rolling down the road. It seems complicated, but each part has a very specific and logical job to do in the chain. Making a car go is only half the story. Making it stop is arguably even more important. This is the job of the brake system. When you push the brake pedal with your foot, you are not directly stopping the wheels yourself. Instead, you are pushing a fluid called brake fluid through a series of small pipes. This fluid pushes against brake pads, which are made of a material that creates a lot of friction. These pads then squeeze against a shiny metal disc, called a rotor, that is attached to the wheel. This squeezing action creates friction, which slows the wheel down very quickly and effectively. It is this friction that turns the car's movement energy into heat. If you were to touch the brake discs after some hard braking, you would find they are incredibly hot, so please do not do that. The entire system is hydraulic, meaning it uses liquid pressure to multiply the force from your foot. This allows you to stop a very heavy car with just a gentle push of the pedal. It is a simple, reliable system that is one of the most critical safety features on any vehicle. Without good brakes, a car would be an incredibly dangerous machine, so they are designed to be very strong and dependable. Of course, being able to go and stop is not much use if you cannot choose which direction to go in. This is where the steering system comes into play. When you turn the steering wheel in the cabin, you are turning a long rod called the steering column. This rod connects to a set of gears that changes the rotational movement of the steering wheel into a side-to-side movement. This movement pushes and pulls on two arms, called tie rods, which are connected to the front wheels. This action points the front wheels left or right, guiding the car in the direction you want to travel. Most modern cars have power steering, which makes turning the wheel much easier. This system uses a hydraulic pump or an electric motor to help you turn the wheels, so you do not have to use a lot of physical effort, especially when the car is moving slowly or parked. So, the brakes give you control over your speed, and the steering gives you control over your direction. Together, these two systems are what make you the driver. You are not just a passenger, you are in command of the machine, telling it where to go and when to stop, all with simple inputs from your hands and feet. There are a few other systems working quietly in the background to make your journey safe and comfortable. One of the most important is the suspension system. If a car's wheels were bolted directly to its body, every single bump and hole in the road would shake the entire car and all its passengers violently. The ride would be incredibly uncomfortable and loud. The suspension is the system of springs and shock absorbers that connects the wheels to the car's body. Its job is to soak up all those bumps, allowing the wheels to move up and down independently without shaking the main cabin. The springs, which are often large metal coils, allow the wheels to move up to absorb the energy from a bump. However, a spring on its own would just keep bouncing up and down for a long time. This is where the shock absorbers come in. A shock absorber, or damper, is a piston in a tube filled with oil that resists this bouncing motion and brings the wheel back to a stable position quickly. This combination of springs and shock absorbers keeps your ride smooth and also helps to keep the tires pressed firmly against the road surface, which is very important for good grip, especially when turning or braking. Another essential system that works behind the scenes is the electrical system. A car is filled with things that need electricity to work, from the spark plugs in the engine to the headlights, radio, and the computer that controls everything. The power for this system comes from two sources. When the engine is off, a battery provides the electricity needed to start the car and run things like the interior lights. The battery is a bit like a rechargeable power pack that stores electrical energy for when it is needed. It's what gives the starter motor the big jolt of power needed to get the engine turning. Once the engine is running, a device called an alternator takes over. The alternator is driven by a belt connected to the engine, and as it spins, it generates electricity. This electricity powers all the car's systems, and very importantly, it also recharges the battery. making sure it is full for the next time you need to start the car. So all these parts, the powerful engine, the clever drivetrain, the safe brakes, the precise steering, the comfortable suspension, and the vital electrical system, all work together in perfect harmony. They transform a simple tank of fuel into a controlled, comfortable, and useful journey from one place to another.